All right, another track breakdown here with, just in case you're wondering how to pronounce it, he's got a nice little thing right here, Quliano. All right, so Quliano's track on Intentions, NYC, New York City. We're going to break this down. We are going to figure out how to tell the story of a hook over time. So what is the hook in the track and how does that develop over time? And this is critical for making sure that your tracks work in the club. Now, if you are not a DJ and you don't have the opportunity to play your tracks in the club and see how the crowd is actually responding in real time to your music, it's a really good idea to model a reference track that has probably been rinsed to death by other DJs, because you know that that track works, at least in terms of an arrangement and in other things, but definitely in the arrangement. And so it takes a lot of the guesswork out of arrangement. A lot of times producers are like, I don't know what to do in the arrangement. Well, all you have to do is look, and that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to look at an arrangement of a track that's doing really well, that's crushing it, and we're going to break it down to try to understand it, and then extract some principles, and some ideas, some little techniques that we can apply to our own music and arrangements. And so we're going to try to keep it a little bit high level. If there's something really interesting, I'll dive in, but I call these macro maps because we're just mapping the kind of macro elements, the big things in the track, understanding how the big things kind of evolve. And so with that out of the way, let's start freaking mapping it out. Here we go. Already, there's a really cool percussion in there, which is that boom kind of sound right there. I forgot what that's called. I think it's like, I know this is wrong, but it's like a didgeridoo. I don't think that's right, though. I think that's like an Australian instrument or something, but really cool sound off the bat. So I'm just going to start calling this beat. So again, we're just going to be mapping the big things, and we want to get 8 bars here. There we go. And beat's just going to be the drums, right? Kick, bass, all that percussion and stuff. It would be cool to dive into the percussion, because especially this is like a Latin tech house kind of thing, but we're just keeping it a high level. Again, we're just looking at the arrangement. How does this develop over time? So let's keep going. So right away, though, we're getting a little bit of a horn stab. So we'll just kind of map that out, because that will probably be something that kind of plays throughout. Right there. A little bit of delay. I guess we can kind of mark that. So we'll just go delay, and where we go. Why can't I? Whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here? Code that a different color there. Here we go. Just want to look like, I don't think that's definitely a percussion, but just want to see if there's any bass yet, like even just like even kind of the top end of it, but let's see. One thing to mention for sure here is that we're getting a motif, which like in Latin kind of tech house style, you're always going to get a motif, you know, like just like the percussion loops will kind of just add up and create this motif. But when I listen to it, now down the line, I'm curious to see how the bass line kind of interacts with this, but like in Latin styles, like to come up with bass line, motif, hook, these are all things that could potentially clash, right? So imagine you have this kind of cool motif that's going on its own, and then you write a bass line, and oh man, it's so cool, and then like you get this hook, you try to bring a hook in to fit with those other two, and that can be extremely difficult. And so what I recommend doing is starting with a hook. Like everything comes from the hook. This is something I say all the time. Just everything comes from the hook. So if you have like a vocal, start with the hook and start building like, well, actually what I would do is start kind of building, I guess, either the percussion or the bass around the hook, but just write a bass line or write kind of, I guess, some percussion loops that fit the hook. And then the other one, whether that's bass or percussion, just fit it in with those, right? So start with the hook, then maybe write the bass line, and then write the percussion, or start with the hook, write the percussion, and then write the bass line. So whichever one, either way, that's going to be totally fine. But I recommend starting with the hook. It'll just give you an easier time, right? probably a lot of producers start with the drums, but you can get into the whole trouble of trying to fit a hook or force a hook into an existing groove when the rhythms kind of clash, when it's just so much easier if you have a hook to start with and build a groove around that. It just feels a lot more cohesive, you could say. All right, a little rattle. I'm just going to put that here just like as a little ear candy thing. Why not? And then we'll see if that kind of plays throughout. But kind of a minor thing, but... All right, also, so we have motif, and then we have... Ableton changed how you deal with these clips here, but I'm just writing HP, or unless I'm messing something up, but... Yeah, see, watch this. If I now right-click on this, I can't change the color of the clip. But if I create a new clip, I can change the color of it. And then this one pops up as I'm changing it. It's very weird. There's definitely a bug going on with that, but all right. Anyway. All right, so we'll create an edit map here. So let's go edit, and edit is, I'm going to just broadly define it as just any kind of interesting change, but really an edit for me is just something where you remove the low end in some way. So right there where you just take the kick out. All right, and then you heard that crash, so we'll just kind of create the effects channels here. So we have effects up, which would be like a riser, effects down, which would be like a downshifter, and then effects accent, which is just an effect that accents the moments. And you can just broadly, any effect will fit kind of into one of these categories. And a crash is a perfect example of a effect accent. So I'll just put that there. All right, you can hear a little bit of vocal starting to creep in here. So I'm just going to put Vox for now. And where does this start? There you go. And I'm going to color that blue. So cool. We're still high pass on the intro drums here. Just seeing if there was any kind of hat lift there. All right, so right there, a little bit of an up effect, right? Just a little bit of a white noise riser. And then we're going to get this guy playing. All right, cool. So here we are getting a full kick, we'll say. And then there's a little bit of a shaker lift. I kind of want to record that. Shaker lift. And a lift is just where you just, lift the energy with something. And so there we go. And this is 16th, so we'll just call this 16th. There you go. So we'll color these a different color here. Cool. Yeah, see, look at that. If I look at this. If I right click on this, this changes. All right, we're not going to move on from that immediately though, but weird kind of thing with Ableton's update. A little bit of that rattle again. You hear that? This guy. Wait a minute. That's the wrong thing. Right here. This guy. So. Little vocal shot. So these are all just like kick cuts. So kick, cut. There we go. And just the same thing every 8 so far. See if that changes. Probably not, but we'll see. So it's the same as this one right here. So maybe I'll just color this something else. Like that, maybe. That's not that big of a difference, though. Then we'll go over here. This is cool. We're getting a bigger edit over here. So we'll put that there. But then we have this crazy vocal. Cool. And then so we're getting this thing hitting every kind of 16 bars here. So let's drop this in. Seems like we're getting the bass now. So here we go. Cool. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. And you kind of classic dotted eighth note rhythm with that little kind of jump up at the end. So I'm not going to, I guess we might quickly map out what the notes are. Let's see. So if I hop over to a spectrum analyzer, so mostly a sine wave here. So boom, boom, boom. So pretty much going G down to D. Now, interestingly, that could be in G or D, but what is that? All right, but the horn stab's hitting a G, so probably in G. So so that's going. So something like that. So so playing the dotted eighth rhythm, right, or 3/16. We got that rattle again over here. Cool. See it right here. Kind of a cool little percussion thing right here. So perk fill. So let's see. Let's just call these drum things. And I'm just going to move them up with the drums here. And then just curious if this happens over here at all. So just right here. There's so many little things that are going to go on in this track that I can't map them out, but you could hear like the lasers come here. Or kind of like that fast filter movement on something, probably Tantra. Man, there's so many multi-effects plugins now that you can use, but cool. So that same guy right here, maybe we'll color this something else. One little thing is like how subtle this genre is. Like you can even hear this noise that happens before the vocal here, right? That just creeps up and then almost triggers this guy. You know, like there's like the cool thing about this genre is how all these small things interact. All right, got another little edit right there. Anything special about this edit? Let's see. So nothing really other than it's staged. So for example, this would be like a high pass kick, and then this steps down to just a kick cut where you kind of just remove the kick. One thing that's cool about breaks like this, or little edits like this, is when the kick is gone, you can kind of see the bass harmonics a little bit better. There's other ways to see the bass harmonics, but you'll see it's really just a sine wave. The kick is mostly taking up the low frequencies, probably around 50 hertz, but you'll see it's just a sine wave here, kind of almost an octave above the kick. See? Like that's it. That's all this is. Just a little sine wave. Very cool. All right, sweet. So very simple. Like, don't have to be overcomplicated with this, because you want to actually create a lot of space for the mid-range. The frequency stack on this is really cool, because what you're getting is the kick and the low frequencies down here in the sub, right? So around 50 hertz. And then, so this guy hitting right down there about 47. Loud, right? Smashing it down there around -4-ish, -3.5. You got the bass about an octave up from that. You know, not exactly, but like, because, you know, an octave up from this, if we accept this to be F sharp, you know, according to the spectrum analyzer, then, you know, up here would be, F sharp would be up there. But this is obviously, the bass moves around a note. So it's in the octave kind of range above the kick is what I'm saying. It's not exactly an octave, because it's not playing an F sharp, obviously. It's just in the octave range above. And then above that, you've got your low frequency percussions, or low mid percussions. And then look how it's just scooped down here. And so a lot of this is just a good amount of attention to, like, just frequency stacking the sounds properly and not over cluttering it. But a lot of it also is just sound selection. Like, how hard is it to mix a sine wave? Not very hard. You just put it at the level that it needs to be, and you make sure the envelope is right in the synth. You're done, right? Maybe you can limit it, you know, if you just want to get the harmonics closer together, you know, or you just, like, there's so many different things you do, but you can't do a lot here. And so it's just sound selection. So here we have a nice kick. The bass is just in an octave range above it, right? Sine waves. And then you've got your percussion. And so you've got this nice kind of warm and really warm sound, but just really good sound selection for frequency stacking. And that's true for this track, of course, but it's kind of just true across the board in this kind of genre, is just keeping that really clean in each kind of octave to make sure that all those sounds don't kind of clash, but they all kind of work together instead. And I'm just looking at the frequency spectrum, right? Earlier I was talking about rhythmically getting things to work together with the hook, the bass, and the percussion. But we just broke down right there is the frequency stacking of those sounds and keeping that clean as well. All right, is that this guy? There we go. Cool. Nice. So we're still getting this guy right here, but a little different. Like, there's an extra little vocal on that, like, da, da, da. And then some effects. I might even just create a new effects category here, just effects miscellaneous, because there just might be all sorts of crazy shit that I want to kind of like draw our attention to, and this will just give me a category to do it without having to be bothered on whether it's one of those guys. But like, that's going up, so is it an up effect? Sure, but I'm just gonna put it here. Like up effect really is there to build tension. I'm not sure this, even though this is going up, if it's building tension. Maybe it is, maybe it is. I'm listening prematurely, right? But it could just be some weird thing. So for the weird things, I'm just gonna put them here. Interesting. So it's coming in early. So there's not a consistent kind of structure to these, which is fun, you know, because it makes it, keeps you on your toes. Yeah, see, so this goes up and then glitches for a sec. Probably just like took the audio and reversed it or something. Now it's going down. All right, and so now we're getting some horns. I'll write like horn melody. Cool. And so here we go. And this is coming up. So this is just low passing up here, LP up. So I'm just going to write like up, and I'm just going to make this kind of like really simple. Up and then down. And then, so this is just more vocal glitch. So I'm just going to start picking random colors. Hear that resonance down on something? It could be on this or it could be on just white noise, but that... that's definitely a white. Now, I'll put that here because that's white noise with a resonance down. So white noise, res down. So... Okay, so we're going to get another vocal channel here because you can hear this vocal definitely creeping up, which is dee-da-da-da. So you can hear right here. Dee-bam. So is that playing? So it plays right there. Okay. Okay, so then it picks up right here. So like that. Cool, so Vox. I'm just going to put it 2 because there's really no way for me to kind of distinguish these yet. But let's see. So. All right, we got our little edit right there. Let's go back into high pass mode. And now, oh, look at that. That's crazy. Okay, so let's go like that. So interesting, the bass is still there, it's just turned down. It's not high passed, right? Because again, it's just almost silly to think about. Like you could high pass the bass, but it's just literally 2 harmonics, you know, like it's just 2 notes on 2 sine waves. So I'm just gonna put this like quiet. And then, it won't let me color this. This is nuts. And this is very frustrating for what we're doing here. Okay, let's see. Guess we'll have to do this little workaround and then we'll do quiet. Cool. And then we'll go to rattle. Where's the rattle? It's cool. Yeah, I just love the detail. Okay, so this guy's coming up even more. Here we go. This guy's still going, so we'll just move him across like that. Crash, so let's put a accent right there. So this is just a crash. So crash. So just kind of beat repeat stuff, like just glitching a vocal and just panning it. Could be delay, beat repeat, all sorts of different stuff, like a million different ways to create something like that. All right, you can definitely hear the white noise up, so we'll just kind of put that in here. So white noise up. Cool. You hear the low pass down on the drums, so we'll also do LP down. So here is where they start. So you can hear the full hat. Down here is going to be more muffled. All right, so of course over time that's you just low passing down. So bass is still there, percussion is still there, so no kick and just perk. All right, so we got the horn is pretty much full right here, so maybe we'll just write like full melody. This is still going. All right, cool. All right. White noise becoming really prominent. This is definitely like a big tension element here. So what other tension elements are going on? You think of rep, roll, rise, grow. So what's repeating? So obviously this guy's repeating. So hook repetition. Rep, roll. So is there a snare roll or a kick roll or even a crash roll? No. And I'm just thinking, yes, crash roll's a thing. At least that's what I like to call them, where it's like ba ba psh, 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 right? And then rep, roll, rise or a riser. Yes, that's what the white noise is doing. And then grow is anything growing in the space. And so there's probably some reverb going on. You can hear it on the vocals, like maybe on the horn melody. All right, that's cool. Okay, so the white noise cuts off right there when the vocal is full. So I'm just going to color this guy. Look at that. Why did that start? That's crazy. This is just so weird. All right. Okay, so drums and the bass go away right there. You hear an extremely faint kind of, what's it called, delay in the background, like that's cool. That's almost like a trigger for the edit right there. Like let's just pick a different color. Cool. All right. So then full groove here. Let's just try full groove. All right. All right, cool. And this is a good example of why you don't need a perfect acapella. All right, listen to that. That's not what we want. We want this guy right here. Cool. All right, so then we want the regular bass here. We've got the rattle right there. Okay, groove sounds pretty similar. I'm trying to see if there's anything here in this first main drop here that is different than what goes on before. There's some glitches over here, but not a major difference, so... Some interesting vocal effects on there. Like, I'm not sure if that's, like, it almost sounds like there's this kind of weird flutter thing, like... It sounds like some kind of effect that was added to the vocal and just making it sound interesting. But again, subtle. It's all subtle. All right, cool. Okay, so full groove, and then this guy. Hold up. No little horn stab on the... That's cool. So... So this is the... So kind of more like shorter like this. So we'll just kind of map it like that. But let's see. So bam, cool. And then you hear this okay, so So it seems like it's just going on the quarter notes here. And then there's that little perk fill that we had earlier. So if I play that right there, kind of similar. And there's also the rattle, so we can bring that over. Perk fill again, but this time it starts a little bit before, so it's kind of around there, like another little horn stab right there. Cool. Is there a horn stab at the 4 over here? Nope. I like how he really brings that down, makes that quiet right there, because that makes that horn really impactful when it comes back. Just because you're working down basically to nothing right there, and then boom, you're hit with obviously the low end again, and then the horn, which just makes it, you know, pretty impactful moment. Okay, vocals go away in the edit. All right, here we go. So now this is like another vocal, Vox 3. So this is kind of like just a little pickup melody in the melody. There we go. All right, now we're going over a strip. So a strip is just kick, bass, hook for the most part. That's exactly what we have here. It's kick, bass, hook. So strip. And I'm going to color that. Oh, hopefully it'll let me color it. Ah, jeez. Not this again. So purple. There we go. And I'm going to move this back here. No. Here. Cool. So some perk in there, but strip plus perk. But again, usually a strip is just where you strip back the drums. So you get kick, bass, hook. So. Interesting. So this I-rep here is part of this vocal. So bringing that in a little bit. So I'm going to move this up here just because they're kind of the same vocal there. And so this is previewing it. Now, something clever here that you could do is we haven't really heard this vocal at all. A lot of times in a break section, what you're doing is you're introducing the main hook so that it gets played later over a drop. Now, in this case here, that's not really happening. This is mostly just the horn melody. And then when we get into this vocal, we have had some vocals kind of teasing things, glitching about, but especially with this coming up though, this vocal rep right here, the C bet, boom. And then the vocal is playing in full. A lot of times you'll kind of introduce a vocal back here without the full groove and then bring it together over here. But it's just been teased the whole time and then it comes over there. But then we could say this is now getting into the B section because now we're getting into a completely different vocal over here. This is another good way to kind of introduce a hook, which is where we haven't heard this one at all. And so if we're just going to slap it over the groove, at this point, the people are pretty familiar with the groove. They understand it. And so there is kind of like background in their mind now, and they're just kind of enjoying the moment. But to introduce a brand new hook right out of the gate, a cool thing to do is just really strip things back. And then so you have this wide open space to introduce the hook. And that's what's going on here. So I just wanted to point that out. Like, they probably just felt like, hey, this could be a cool thing to do. But from like a principle point of view in music, like it just makes it easier for the listener to digest the new hook. And so they get used to it, and then we'll see how it develops. But this is just, again, a really good way to introduce a hook over a drop if you haven't previewed it in the break, is just drop it over a strip. So that's what's going on here. So we got the horn, and let's go like this. So. All right, and then just bringing it back in. And so that's standard 2. And so then we just go right back into the full groove. So there you go. We just got that little moment to kind of hear this new hook, get hit with a new hook, and then we just go right back into the full groove. All right, and then we get the little edit. All right, cool. So we can almost create like a high-level A-B here. And I'll just do it for this guy, but this drop here. So A section and then B section. And so we could do like Vox 1, and then this is just like Vox 2. Cool. And so I'll color these. Oh, this is crazy. All right. And then this one, we can color white. Okay, sweet. So full groove. There we go. Bass. We got the horn stab. Let's pop that guy over here. And then, do we have a horn right here? Nope. So rattle right there. So we don't have this vocal rep anymore, the cement. So this is starting to low pass down. So I'm just gonna maybe cut it here and just use low pass down. All right, you hear the white noise coming up. All right, there we go. And so kick cut. Getting into the main break and build. So that is a down effect right there. And that's usually where you're going to hear a down effect, is when you go into the main break and build, because what you're doing is literally settling the energy. And the cool thing about effects is that effects just explicitly state what the listener should be feeling. Like if we want to accent the energy and create this moment of excitement, this spike in energy, that's what an accent effect will do, you know, like in the crash, some kind of big entry sound. That horn you could think of as an accent effect, right? It's just accenting important moments in the track, like the start of 8 bars or even halfway through at the 4-bar mark. That's still an exciting and important structural moment. Up effects say, hey, we're building tension. We're going somewhere new, so get ready, right? It creates anticipation. And then down effects do the exact opposite. They just release tension. They say, hey, settle down. And so people talk about hating effects, and it's just, or not using certain effects, or having this thing against effects. And I always find it strange, because effects are just communicating what they should be feeling, what anybody should be feeling. And so, you know, someone could use them or not, but it's just tools in a toolkit, you know. And so here we go. So this is just bass and we'll just do like percussion here. So we'll do perk, and hopefully it'll let me change colors. No. Okay, let's see. There we go. So I just kind of figured out the hack a little bit. So if I right click and then click on the color part of it, then I can change the color. So that's good news. It's not completely broken. So this is kind of like white noise with resonance. So white noise res down. So something like that just kind of plays. And then we're getting back into the rep here. So kind of go up here. This is definitely not as organized as it could be. So what we'll do is I'm going to move these guys here down, which is that kind of third vocal. there. And then maybe this will be the, move this up here, and I'll move these back like that. And then we're back to the glitches. All right. So maybe we'll have a glitch channel as well. So this will be, so glitch, and this is going to be like Vox 1. Like one of them just sounds more modern to me. So we'll just do like modern, and then we'll just have Vox 2. I'll call it like normal. I don't know what else to call it. All right. So then what we'll do is, let's see. So that's here. And then this. So these are all glitches. Yep. Glitch. Okay, that's this one. So that one's different. Yep. So these are all glitches. Cool. And so this guy should belongs here. So we'll put this there. All right, cool. So this guy's now playing throughout. So this goes over, and then this is just playing every, okay, so it's just playing at the end then. Okay, fine. So we'll go like this. All right, I think that's right. Nope. Okay, cool. There we go. All right, now of course we have the horns. Let's see if they come up. All right, glitch. You can hear there's a, that what I'm listening for is there's this like vocal that's going out into reverb, and I can't tell if it's a different vocal or if it's just this one right here. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, I think it's the so I'm just gonna do another vocal. And then LP up. Okay, cool. So you can definitely hear that guy. So lots of vocal texture. So I'm just gonna put another one. Why not? Why not? So then there's delay on this, delay, and then so it's like what, 4, and then because that was just a voice that I haven't heard before. So again, just more glitch up here. So random color. There we go. All right, so then that phrase kind of resolves there at the end. Okay, but then these keep going here. All right, cool. So crash, so we'll put a little accent effect right there. White noise still continues though, so So we got white noise down, and then there's a white noise coming up. And so I'm just going to go like this all the way across. So obviously the horns are getting louder. Let's see if there's any change in the groove. You hear how there's volume automation on the bass. It's just going down in volume. So I'm just going to write gain down across the board there. And the percussion, let's see. So same with the perc, I'm just going to do the same. So he's just having them both kind of go down over time. And so gain down, just to make room for the other things that are coming up. So for example, the horns are all coming up. All right, let's get some of these glitches. All right, so yet another one. Cool, I like it. All right, so this is just, I'm just going to call this whisper. Cool. All right, so then that phrase resolves right there. All right, we can hear a snare roll. All right, the snare roll starts before, but it's low passing up. So we'll just do snare roll. Cool. And then there we go. Okay, cool. Then it stopped there, but this thing is LP up and pitch up. Especially at the end. All right, cool. So kind of similar to what happened back here, where everything kind of peaked out. Same thing happens here, but then we get into this new section, which is cool. Build some more tension to get back to the drop. So all that. Let's see. And similar thing to back here as well, where we have that one vocal that kind of shouts to kind of end everything. So, but lots of delay on this now because we're not going to the drop, so we don't need to keep it clean. So, snare roll. Bass is still going. Percussion. White noise, not so much, but there is like a down effect that's starting. You can hear that. All right. Again, with that acapella, I mean, like, it's just such a good example of producers being worried about something where, like, listen to the acapella there. And this was, I think, a top 3 track. All right, but here we've got a kick. All right, and so there we go. Just put kick. Little bit of a down effect right there. You can hear that. Meow. Cool. And then, of course, we have... All right, so I'm calling that the normal vocal here. And so, cool. All right, and then a little bit of a double kick right there. One cool thing to point out is you can see how he's making this kick lower in volume than that one. And you could totally just have this one the same volume, but... just wanted to point that out. You can hear that. And then, okay, cool. So we got 1 kick, 2 kick, and then 3 kicks there. So we got a double kick right here, like that. And okay, so no crash it sounds like under that, but I'll put a little accent effect here, like this. So we'll get a little bit of crash on there. Okay, and then a triple kick, bump, bump, bump. So another little crash. There we go. Cool. Again, white noise, just lots of, I love the white noise in this. So I'm going to kind of have it kind of go up throughout. And just for fun, I'm going to take like 2 seconds and, you know, just, you could program your own white noise. Like, you don't have to use like a sample, but I'll show you a little trick that I kind of like. So if you get operator and we drop this on here, and I'll just take this guy and move it down, and then we'll just go get, it doesn't matter what note you use, so I'm just going to hit legato on this. There we go. And then, let's go back. Oh boy. Here we are. And then, so let's come back over to operator. I am going to change this to noise white right there, okay? Now, right now the filter's on, so if I turn that off, okay, there we go. But if I flip the filter to a high pass, right, and I'm going to bring the resonance down. There we go. Okay, now you can spread this. Okay. And that's how you can get white noise, and then you could just gain that up over time. Now, another cool thing, though, is with Serum. Serum has a new white noise module as well. That's not even the cool thing I'm going to show you. Let me just show you one more thing. I'm going to turn the spread back down. And if I just group this is kind of unnecessary, but I do like doing this because you really get kind of true width. So if I get 2 operators here, and they're doing the same thing, so I just duplicated this down. And if we go back here, we got white noise here, and we got white noise here. Now, white noise is just random noise, random frequencies by definition. And so if I pan this left, and I pan this right, then I'm going to get a perfectly wide sound that's never going to ever have any kind of phase problem whatsoever. There you go. Now, what I could do is I could macro these guys, and so if I'm just going to copy, can I map this one? Let me just see this. Let me just see. Cool, yeah. So you can see that if I map it to siblings here, then it just maps it for all these. And so now this filter is being controlled by this macro. And it just makes it easier to control parameters on both of these synth if I just have one of these, right? So if I also want to macro the resonance here, and I can then again map to all siblings. Now, if I switch over to the other operator, you can see that the resonance is also macroed, and I can control that right here. I can control both of the resonances for both filters. So, all right, and there you go. So I just want to show you that. True, nice, beautiful width. And then, of course, you could just gain that up over time. If you wanted to, you could just, again, macro the gain on this guy, and then... And there you go. You got some nice white noise. So I'll leave that there, but I will turn it off. Okay, cool. Here we go. Let's keep going. Okay, so we got a kick, and that kick is triggering the snare roll there. So, do we have a snare roll? Okay, cool. Here we go. So we'll go like this, and this is triggering it, right? It's like a trigger, and then boom, all of a sudden we get the snare roll, and that pulls us to the end of the 8 bars or close to it. Let's see. Let's not get too premature on this. That's cool. Okay. And then we get a little 30-second snare roll right at the end. So you can see this is 16th, 16th. So if I change the grid value to 16th here, you can see these are just playing on 16th notes, right? Because that's a standard snare roll. But then right at the end, he just switches it up to 30-second notes, right? Right? And then that gets choked or stopped with this other kick. All right. So let's go back down to narrow. And that's doing a little bit of pitching. And then I just kind of want to mark that 16th because I really like it. And then let's just go across. Mark the 32nd, I mean. Let's go to narrow, and we'll just go like that. So just want to make that. Okay, cool. And then see, and let's bring this across, and this across. And then we have another crash accent right there. Do we have one here? Yeah, we do. Okay, so we have another one right here. Okay, interesting. Is that full low end? Because we're in the middle of a break almost. So I guess maybe this is the start of the drop. Wow, okay. That is interesting. Whoa, okay, this is kind of cool. So this is almost like a fake out. So a fake out is where someone kind of builds and builds and builds, so that people think, hey, the drop's going to start here, but then it fakes out. So, you know, Drugs from Amsterdam does this, and there's a lot of tracks that do this. I think Drugs from Amsterdam, off the top of my head. There's another Malpre track that does it too. Tons of tracks, though. Man, there was one that was recent, though, that really did it in a big way, but I can't remember it. That's okay, because this track's doing it right now. So what a fake out is, you just build and build and build and build. So obviously you're creating the anticipation in the listener's mind that, hey, we're going to go into the drop. And then what do? Well, you don't go in the drop. You fake it out. All right. Now, something that's really good about this is that the listener at this point, if the listener's expecting the drop right here, then you definitely want to have the low end start. Now, you don't have to in a fake out. You don't have to have the low end. But I like that he's hitting them with the low end because they kind of expect it. They're like, wait a minute, it just stopped. So they're just teasing the low end. You have to understand that when you get to this last drop, one of the biggest things that happens is you just get the low end back because that's what people dance to. But what I like about what he's doing in this fake out is that he's teasing that thing. He's teasing the main thing, that low end that they're going to get. And so I think that's really cool. All right. And so this is kind of like, so this is just kind of a slow build and then a fake out, and then we just get back into the drop. So that's really cool. And another thing I want to point out is I love vocal melodies that have what are called pickup melodies. And a pickup melody is a melody that begins before the bar. And the reason why I love those is because they're so good at pulling people in to the drop. Like this is so good right here. Watch. Okay, so that's a great pickup melody. And the fact that it is a directional melody, meaning that it's just going up, right? A directional melody could go up, it can go down, it could be flat, right? So it's just going in a direction. But the da, like the fact that it's kind of walking back up is also another layer of coolness. And obviously that comes from the original, but it's used perfectly right here to bring us back in. Like the pickup melody also, you know, you can't do anything about the melody itself, but it's cool that the melody just steps up, right? Just stepwise up, and just leads us right back like a set of stairs into where we want to be. All right. And then he hits us with a strip here. All right. So let's bring all these back. So full groove. There we are. And we got bass here. Actually, that's not the full groove, right? This is just a kick. This is a strip. So I'm going to color this. Oh, not again, right? Let's color this purple. There we go. All right, cool. Some percussion. So I'm going to do kick plus perk. Whoops. But really, a strip. I still consider this a strip. You're not getting the tops, you know. And then we're getting the that thing right there. So there we go. Cool. You can hear that downshifter. And so let's just call this white noise riser. Cool. Color that brown. Awesome. Just move this down there. And then, so here we have this downshifter. I'll put that on the down. You can consider that an accent, but since it's going down, I'm just going to put that on the down. Typically down settles the energy, and this is certainly not settling the energy. So I'm gonna reverse that. I'm gonna put that as an accent because down energy is like over here where you're settling the energy. And so even though these are kind of the same sound, right? They're doing different things because the energy is not going down here, right? The energy is going down here, but not over here. And because of that, even though it's the same sound, it could be serving a different purpose. And so I'm going to put it here on the accent just to make that point. So here we go. All right, and there we go. Okay. So this is really cool. So Yes, when we're going into a drop that just has the kick, bass, and perc, that is a strip. So even back here when we were talking about this, where he was introducing that new vocal over a strip, which is a great tactic. Another term that I have for this kind of thing is a false start. So a false start is where you just don't get everything right away. And so a strip is a kind of false start, especially when it's in a drop. But the thing about a false start is that you have to have what I call a recovery. A recovery is the thing that triggers everything else coming back in. Now, you don't have to have everything else come back in. You can stage it, and he's going to stage it, right? Meaning he's going to kind of progressively add things in. But you have to have something that kind of kickstarts or triggers the next thing coming in. And so if I play from the beginning, what is that? When I play it, what is the thing that you can literally see it, but I want you to hear it and I want you to feel it. So let's see. It's just the kick cut. So that is really cool. It just pauses for a second and then boom, you get hit with the kick again, and then the hat comes in. All right. And so that is super cool. So we could do, maybe we'll color this a different one. So now we're going to do plus hat. Right? So there we go. And then this guy right here, I'll do a little bit of an edit on there because that is the recovery. So full start, the recovery, and then kind of stage one, which is adding in the open hat. And then we'll get some other stages here of where all the rest of the drums come in. All right, but let's just pay attention to everything else, make sure we got everything. So you have the bass. Okay, cool. So we don't have the main vocal. It just ends right there. And then we got the oi. Hat. And then same move. So this is cool. This is something you can take away. This is something I'm taking away right now. Like the funny thing is, like when I talk about a recovery, especially like when I'm telling producers about it, I'm like, what sound can we kind of add or do something here to bring everything else back in? Classic would be like you could do a double kick, you could do like a reverse crash. There's a million things. You could add the clap right there, right? And then that kickstarts things. Like there's so many things you do. But what I love about what's going on here is instead of adding something, he's just taking away the kick, and that's enough. So not just adding, but removing something is can work as a recovery. And so I'm filing that away in my own little mental notes here, because that's the whole point of these videos, is to take away, to have these kinds of insights and takeaways. And so if I wanted to stage a drop coming in, one thing I can do is I could just use the kick cuts. I can take away the kicks to be the thing that kind of triggers the next sound coming in. And that's really cool. This is kind of cool though too, because check this out. So in the beginning, he took away the bass right here. That's pretty dramatic. And then here, the bass stays in. Boom, boom. And you know what's cool is I actually have the bass line wrong that I hear that. Because if you listen, I had the bass come down here on the beat, but you can hear the high note sustains. Check this out. So if we play right here, hear that boom, right? So it just sustains right there. And so we could just kind of get rid of this note, and I'll just move this one over like that. All right. And I'm not going to fix that earlier because there's no reason to do that, but I am going to make the note right there. And maybe I'll color this a little bit different just so you see. But then that's going to make you think that the bass line's different. So for the sake of the MIDI map, I am going to actually fix this really quick. All right, there we go. Fixed, and we're moving on. All right, so that vocal keeps going, and then boom, and then we get a crash. So I'm not sure why I have this going on for so long. Go crash. So we get the C, whatever. Took Spanish in high school, but forgot. So that's right here. So interesting. Look at this. So the pacing of this has changed. We haven't had pacing that is lasting 2 bars yet. So really just slowly progressing this. And then you can hear the shaker lift right there. So we can bring in the shaker. No clap yet. You hear that? So we're going to get the clap over here. So how long does it take to get back? Is that 32? No way. Wow, that was embarrassing. 32 bars and it's only 8. Are you kidding me? I guess so. That's hilarious. Yeah. So 4 bars. It's just because I've taken so long to explain this that it feels a lot longer than it is. But this is only 2 bars. And then this is 2 bars. So here, this is 4. And then here's another 4. So that's really funny. That's embarrassing, but that's okay. What can you do? All right. So let's get this over here like that. We don't get the clap yet, right? A little bit of a perk fill right here, maybe. And then we're going to get the full. So that starts right here like that. The interesting thing is like my OCD brain would want to kind of like, you can kind of see how this lines up. So see da 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 da, right? And the same with this, see da 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 da. But the fact that there's not one right here kind of doesn't line up with the presentation of this. You know, it doesn't matter. That's just me being super OCD. But, you know, it totally works. All right, cool. There we go. And now we're back. All right. And so, and you can hear that the bass continues. We're getting a, so kick cut right here. So we got kick cut right here. So we got the kick cut. Okay, perk cut or perk fill stops right there. Shaker stops right here. So this is your little edit that we got. So here we go. And just staging the removal of elements, right? So kick cut goes here. The shaker goes here, and so does the perk fill. But the bass is still going, all right? And then finally with the horn, I was waiting for when we're going to get that horn stab, because that is like the perfect thing to just really trigger everything coming in, you know? So these are like mini recoveries here. And then, but this thing is the one that really just kicks it off. There we go. And it's so satisfying now to get that clap. So we got full groove. So I'm just going to write parentheses clap. All right. Okay, so we're going to get that vocal again. And then this vocal keeps on going. Shakers, obviously. Here we are. Cool. Crash. So we'll get that effects accent right there. Ooh, a nice little horn right there. Just really keeping things exciting now. So something I just want to mention in passing is that if you pay attention to the vocal, we can almost break down the way that the melody is constructed. And so this is like, if you're ever going to write your own melodies, a lot of times we're just using things from Splice or acapellas. But if you ever want to venture into writing your own melodies, let me point something out to you here. So if you listen to the melody, it's almost just, it has, the first half has like an up feeling, and then the second half has a down feeling. And so some of the most effective melodies create almost this cycle of like, not necessarily up and down. It could be down then up. Or it could be up here, then down some more, and then up, right? So almost like a sine wave. But there's this cyclicality to the melody, and especially in repetitive genres like house music. Those melodies work really, really well because they can just go on forever. It's just this cycle that just can continue forever. And so if you listen, the pickup melody right here, da, 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 where's that giving you? Is that giving you a feeling of up? Yes, it is. And then let's keep on listening. Right? It ends on that higher note where it still feels like the melody is reaching. All right? And then see what happens over here. Now we're starting to step down. Do you feel that? Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. Right? And so we can literally create these kind of, this almost skeleton of the melody. So let's put deer here. So let's put this guy up here. So we'll go like da-da, right? So now we're starting to step down like that. And I'm just picking random notes. I just want you to get the feel of what I'm talking about, how it starts up here and it goes up one step, it just reaches a little bit more, then it starts to step down, and then it resolves over here. And then that allows you to very easily cycle back around. So for example, if I loop around this whole thing, what's going to happen, let me just loop around here then. So it's going to maybe, let me see. Okay, I can cycle around this whole thing. So I'm going to play it here, it'll cycle around, and you'll hear how it'll just keep cycling. So here we go. So it reaches right there. Now, starting to settle down, and then it finishes. So you could feel the power of a cyclical melody like this. It can just go on forever, you know? And so I just wanted to point that out because I just kind of zoomed in on that. You know, that's kind of more of like a vocal hook kind of technique because we're focused on the arrangement. But I just kind of zoomed in on the vocal for a second and heard that. So I wanted to kind of bring it to your attention. All right, let's keep going. All right, so here we have a big edit. So no kick. So this is another kind of kick cut. And we got another kind of percussion fill right here. So things just kind of cut right there. Ah, I love it. Amazing. And now we're switching to the modern vocal, right? So good. So what's cool about this, I really like the arrangement of this. It's so simple. Like here, we're just going into the groove. As soon as we get back in, we're stepping our way up in the groove. When we finally get back into the thick of it, we're presented with the main vocal. What I'm calling is the normal voice vocal. And then in the B section now, we're going to just simply pass the baton, right? Think of these guys as two track runners. And this guy just had the baton, he's chilling. Now he's going to pass the baton to the other vocalist. And so that's really cool. And that's kind of what's going on over here. All right. So, except we're just not getting the main vocal here. But we are getting what I'm calling the modern vocal here. It's kind of like, you know, that modern sound. This is kind of like, maybe instead of normal, I'll just call this like classic. So it's kind of like the bringing together two styles of this kind of Latin music, like kind of the older classic style and then this more modern style, which is a really creative thing to do. I've heard this definition of creativity where creativity is just connectivity. Like instead of where you're just connecting things that wouldn't ordinarily be brought together. And so this could be creative from that sense in the idea that it's taking kind of a more classic melody and bringing it together with a much more modern melody. And that's a really cool idea. Like that's an idea that you can use in tons of different ways. Like imagine, and it's like, it's not, this is a unique application of it, but the simple idea of kind of, oh my gosh, and I'm sorry for this word, but juxtaposing, right? Like when you juxtapose things, it implies some kind of contrast in the two things that you're bringing together. And this happens all the time. Like when we're bringing in like classic 90s synths into like a modern tech house groove, that's an example of this idea where you're kind of blending the modern and the retro. And this is kind of that idea, but we're just doing, I've never heard, I can't think of anything where someone's taking kind of a more classic style vocal melody and then like a modern style melody and performance and bringing them together like this. So this is a unique application of that idea. It's a really cool thing. But the thing to take away for you is just think about that. Like, how can you kind of like take this idea that he did and grab your own kind of like vocal and maybe like hip hop? Like imagine taking like a hip hop vocal from the 90s and merging it with like a hip hop vocal from, like a Kendrick vocal or something like that. And especially if it's like the same lyrical theme, that could be a really unique thing to do, especially if like, you don't need to release it to a label, but labels are down to sign that stuff, but even if you're just going to post it as a bootleg on SoundCloud or something, like that could be really cool. Cool. So now we're getting into the modern vocal here, and it's the same thing as we're getting it over a strip. So I'm just going to bring this over, and I'm just going to do strip like that. Stripped, apparently. And then let's bring the bass over. Bass cuts right here, though. So this guy is still going, I think, that thing. So let's see. Yeah, that's just going throughout right now. We got the horn, so let's bring that over. Interesting that this vocal is now low passing down. You can hear that just low pass down. Is that what it was doing before? Because it's low passing down here. But what is this? Is this 16 bars? Okay, that's 8 bars. All right, so similar kind of move. Okay, and then we're going into like a break. I'll just put something like that here. So this is just going to be HP, and then I'm going to color this. Oh my gosh, this is just ridiculous. Okay, so there we go. Oh, jeez. Wow. What a crazy thing. Let's check the low end of the bass. You can see that this is a high pass. So there's a high pass on the master or something. You can see that the EQ just curve applies to everything down here in the low end. So we'll just put HP. I'm going to put HP on this guy too. So. Shaker. And then we're getting a glitch. Like, that's another thing I really like about this is like, how can I put this? Like signature elements for big sections, right? We don't really get any vocal glitches that I can remember in the drops. The glitches are specifically reserved for the breaks. It's just a little signature of the breaks. I love that. That's really cool. All right, so let's color this a random color. There it is. All right, cool. So getting back into the swing of things here. So we'll get the modern vocal, get the full groove over here. I'm just going to get rid of where it says clap. Cool groove. And then Command J. Bass. Let's get that guy over. Definitely the horn. Did we miss any horns? Let's see. Yep, so we missed a horn. All right, any crashes on all of these? No. Yep, crash on that. No. Yep, crash on that, right? So this is a rep-ish vocal. So rep, I'm going to do ish just so you're not confused, vocal. So dumb, I'm just going to say Dumbo because that's what it sounds like. So Dumbo, Dumbo. And then we get another vocal like that. Ooh, all right, switching it up on me. All right, so let's go to duplicate here, and I'm just going to remove this guy like that, okay? Cool, so let's get this guy over. You can hear the delay from the glitch is still carrying over, just to point that out. We got that rattle that I completely forgot about. Rattle is over here. Okay, cool. We still have the oi down there. That thing is just like going throughout. Shaker, definitely got to bring that over. Cool. Are we missing an edit right here? So we got a kick cut right here. A little perk fill, yeah, you heard right there. Perk fill, where are you? Cool. So and this right here, you can hear the Dumbo delays out. So, and that's a ping pong because it's bouncing left and right and the delay. All right, so then we get the classic again, just again the pickup melody bringing us in. We got an edit right here. All right, so all of this cuts right here. And this thing is still going. All right. So this, I feel like we're definitely getting to the outro. Yeah, so I can't anticipate a lot more stuff going on. So all your main kind of elements. We got the full beat, the groove, the bass, the shaker, crash, and the horn, of course. Let's get that over. Crash. Cool. Okay, cool. And so there are some glitches, like even in the intro there was some glitches, but in the main drops there were no glitches. So it's kind of an intro and outro and break thing. So cool. Again, so this is, we got high pass. I love doing this personally, actually. So if we go high pass and then kick cut, where you're staging. And when I say staging, what I mean is like where you're making things happen in stages, right? And so first we get a high pass, and then we get a kick cut. And so we step down once, and then we step down again. And I love doing that myself in my own tracks. All right. That guy ran his course right there. All right. Are we getting no, nothing right there, but so just groove, right? Making it easy for DJs. Not doing anything silly or fancy. That's a random place to cut. What? All right, whatever though. That's really weird. Just randomly cutting it. So HP. So I might even say that was an accident. But maybe not. That's just a really strange place to cut it. All right, then we got a kick cut. Just an automation was moved over a little early rather than like cutting it right there. Anyway. All right, so then we're going to get a nice high pass now. What about the bass? Let's check. Same thing, so high pass on the bass as well. So HP. Shakers. Horn, just punctuating everything. We got the little rattle right there as well. Rattle right here too. Yeah. All right, cool. A little bit of an up effect right there. You can hear just white noise. We can zoom in and just call that white noise. And then got a crash right here. Cool. Cool. And then no more cool. We still have the shakers, just no bass. All right, cool. And then crash at the end as well. All right, cool. So that is a really cool track. Really cool track. So just really good principles. The takeaways for me is a couple like to highlight. Let's start with the arrangement. The arrangement is very simple. This is an HD2 formula. And an HD2 formula is simply like intro. I think he goes for, when does the bass come in? I think he does a 32 bar intro. And then we get a bass drop here. So let's go intro. And it's an HD2, I call it an HD2 formula. I'll tell you in a sec. I need to do the colors first because this is just a crazy thing. All right. And then let's go over here and let's go like this and then like that. And then we'll go like this and then we'll go like that. Okay, cool. So HD2 formula is intro and then bass drop where you drop the bass and we cover that. And then we get break 1 and then we got HD1 and HD stands for hook drop. It's where you really start putting the hooks over the groove. Like all this is kind of like DJ stuff, right? If you start throwing a bunch of hooks over here, number one, for the listener, it's overwhelming because they don't know the groove enough. The groove isn't subconscious enough. They haven't just internalized it yet to be able to focus on both trying to figure out the groove and how to dance to it and listen to the hooks. And so a lot of times you just introduce the bass first. For the listener, because then it's easier to consume, but for the DJ, because, you know, he's trying to mix out of whatever track came before. And then in the break, that's where you start introducing the hooks, and that's what we see here. We've got vocals, we've got glitches, we've got the horns, and then here in the hook drop, this is where you put the hooks over the groove. And so here we've got the kind of a little bit teasing of the classic vocal is what I'm calling it now. And then we switch over past the baton to the modern vocal, which is another big takeaway for me from this track. And we'll talk about that in a second. But going back to the HD2 formula, this is just hooks over groove. So A section would be kind of the classic vocal teases. And then the B section would be the modern vocal. And then over here, we've got the main break and build. And so in this is kind of just like a pretty slow progressive build through the main break right here. And again, just using the break elements. So we're going back to the kind of horn sample and we're going back to the vocal glitches. So those are the two kind of defining elements of the breaks, which again is a signature move in this track and a really good principle to apply in your own tracks, is like you got break signatures, you've got drop signatures kinds of things. And then here we're doing a little bit of a build into a fake out. Now, this is pretty cool. Like, I really like this. So maybe I'll just color this slightly different. And then, so we'll just do like fake. And then this is a strip. And, oh, this is just nuts. So there we go. This is cool. This is a cool moment. So we'll talk about that. But then this right here, plus the strip, is going to be HD2. All right, hook drop 2, where you put the hooks over the groove. HD2 elevates, meaning that it's bigger or it's more developed, or it develops over and above HD1 in a couple ways. Number one, it develops by having this kind of progressive strip. That's not in HD1. And number two is we're getting the full classic vocal, again, what I'm calling the classic vocal here, which we're not getting in HD1. And so those are two big developing moves that we get over here in the second drop. Then when we switch over to the B section here in HD2, we go back into the modern vocal over a strip, but there's just a couple extra little details. Here in HD1, after the strip, we go back into the full groove. But here in this strip, we don't go into the full groove, we go into an edit almost. So we go into a 4-bar edit. And then we go back into the full groove with the kind of vocal rep on the modern vocal. So cool developing moves here, but what I want you to see is these are typical, these are not, that's the opposite of what I wanted to say. These are pretty unique developing moves in a track, especially a track that's getting in the top 10, top 5, because these are pretty significant developments. But the reason why I'm saying that as if it's kind of a cautionary thing is because you have to understand the listener psychology is very simple. You want to give them something really cool in HD1. And then in the main break and build, you basically take that away from them. And what do they want? If you take something away from someone that they like, what happens? Well, they just want it back. And so a lot of times in HD2, you just give it back to them. And you can make some developing moves. You can drop over strip. You can do these other things. But for the most part, you want to keep it pretty straightforward in terms of HD1 structure is the same as HD2 structure. And the thing is, in this track, we still have that. Because in HD1 A section, in both of these, the hook drops, A section is going to be the kind of classic vocal, and then it passes the baton to the modern vocal in the B section. The same thing's going on here. And so high level, we're still getting the underlying A section, B section structure. But there's just some kind of more detailed work in terms of the development that makes it feel really cool. And so I really like that because high level, it's the same, but it's just different on the kind of more detailed level. And that's really cool. Okay, cool. And so zooming back into HD2 formula, again, we got intro, bass drop, break 1, hook drop 1, main break and build, hook drop 2, and then we just go to the outro. All right. And so the simple idea of a tech house song or a song is like you kind of work up to the point where you give them the main hooks over groove, and then you take that away in some way, and right through here, and then you give it back to them. And once you give it back to them, they get it back. They have the satisfying moment. Then you just mix out. That's the end of the song. And then the DJ just mixes into the next song through the outro. But if you just understand that, I'm just working my way up to finally present the main hooks over the groove, I'm going to separate those in some way, and then I'm going to bring them back together again. And then that's it. That's all you got to do. If you understand that high-level arrangement concept, you cannot go wrong in terms of listener psychology. All right, and that's what we got going on here. Just a really cool, creative execution of the HD2 formula, but the principles are just checked off to a T. Really well done, but again, a creative execution. That's what you'll see. You'll see that all the top producers are going to be using the same underlying principles, but they are just done in a unique and interesting way. And this is just a perfect example of that. Other things to take away that I kind of mentioned throughout were the hooks. So switching from the classic vocal to kind of a more modern vocal is a really cool thing. Something you can take away from your own productions. Another thing is staging this thing. I want to zoom in on this. I love the fake out. I love that fake out. That's really cool. And then how it just kind of seamlessly works up. Like it's almost like the end of the break and the start of the drop blend together. Like it reaches this kind of tipping point and then boom, it just plummets into the fake out. And then we just start stepping up. And so here's the big step down. Here's the first step up, the next step up, the last step up, or the second to last step up, and then boom, now we're back in it. And so I love that. That's a really cool thing. That's pretty sophisticated, but I want to play it. And hopefully, while it is sophisticated, I hope I broke it down in a way that is easy for you to understand and apply it in your own way. Another thing I like about this strip section is the removal of the kicks as the recoveries and as the triggers for the next sound coming in. That is really cool. And the final thing that I want to point out, there's a lot of cool takeaways in this track. The final thing I want to point out is that cyclical melody. Just because I mentioned it before, I just want to reiterate it, is that cyclical melodies, and in this case, it's going up and then down. So it's almost a perfect cycle where you kind of go up and then down. But it doesn't have to be that. Just anything that kind of cycles easily can be a cyclical melody. And those are just really good in terms of just house music, anything repetitive. Let me just compare that to the modern vocal. The modern vocal also works because it's more of a rap style vocal. It's like a sing rap, again, the modern style kind of vocal. Oh, geez. Okay, so I misspoke earlier because I forgot. I had to separate this breakdown into two different times, but I forgot that we had the full vocal here in the beginning. So that's cool. So again, let me just back up really quick. So here we have the full vocal in the first 8 bars. Here the producer makes us wait until the second 8 bars to get the full vocal. So again, just a little bit of a development, a little bit of a difference. So here we get the progressive strip, and then we step up into not just the full groove, but the full hook. And so a massive step up in terms of energy. Really cool there. All right, but again, I just wanted to narrow in on the cyclical vocal. And if we go over to the modern vocal here, so you can hear that he's just really hovering around one note. Every now and then he'll kind of jump up, da-da-da-da, but is really just hammering kind of one note. So kind of a more rap style. And that also works really well in tech house and house music, is just having this kind of repetitive style instead of this big pop vocal. So just using two vocal styles that work really well. That cyclical vocal on the classic, and then the modern kind of thing. And at the risk of being overly repetitive, I just want to point out again the cool bringing together of the classic and the modern, that quote juxtaposition, and yeah, that's really cool. And so those are my takeaways. If you've got any questions based on what we covered in this video, let me know down below. If you want to add your own insights to what we talked about, definitely leave a comment down below. But that's it for me, and I will see you in the next breakdown. Peace.